Welcome back. All right, I want to talk about tonight's Raw. Of course, it was on Netflix for the first time, so I was kind of a little bit busy in that it's not that busy a night in the NHL, but I had games on TV. I had to have the tablet because Amazon Prime, and so I had this one on the computer, but I got through and I felt like I had to watch Raw tonight because it's historic, right? It's the first one on Netflix, which I think they mentioned once or twice or half a million times. This seemed really padded out. I understand that it's a first episode on Netflix and it's kind of introductory, and I'm hoping we get more wrestling and less padding of the runtime than we got tonight. So, Triple H does the "Are you ready?" at the start, so you get that. Then The Rock comes out. He talks about his family's history, and they showed the whole, Anoa'i family and what they've done for wrestling, which is something. And I've joked, and I'll say it again here. I think eventually it's all going to be Samoans, and we'll be looking at each other and saying, when did WWE become all Samoan wrestlers? But it's just gradually happening where they're all going to be Samoan wrestlers. So, Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns was first. Heyman had an intro of Roman that was great. I had expected a Paul Heyman heel turn. I was almost willing to bet that, and I didn't, I was almost willing to bet that Paul Heyman was going to turn on Roman Reigns, give Solo Sikoa the win, and join Bloodline 2.0. But it does feel like there needs to be a refreshing of the Bloodline storyline. So, it starts at 5:32, and I wanted to make sure I had the times on here because this is the show starts at 5 o'clock. The first match starts at 5:32. This is what I meant about just padding out the time, and I hope this doesn't happen going forward because there's a lot of really good wrestlers that didn't get the introductory show tonight. So Bloodline 2.0 attacks at 5:48. So they watch 16 minutes of wrestling, and then decide, now's a good time. Chad Patton takes a Samoan spike. He was the referee in this. Zayn and Jimmy Uso come running in. Then KO comes in and he hits a stunner on Roman. That leads to a kick out by Roman. Then Cody Rhodes with the run in. What's weird is he was in the crowd. They showed him at the start of the show in one spot, and I had kind of expected him to still be there and jump the barricade, but he ran down the ramp, which means he went all the way around to get into the gorilla position. Anyway, so Roman wins at 5:54, so that match goes 22 minutes. The Rock comes out, and I thought, okay, does he want the Ula Fala, which is the name of the necklace that they wear? But instead, he puts it on Roman, and there's speculation that at WrestleMania we're going to get The Rock versus Roman Reigns. So we didn't get any discussion of a tribal chief belt yet. I do feel like that may very well be coming. So the New Day, although I want to call them the Boo Day because every time they speak, the crowd boos so loud you can't hear them. They leaned into that a bit tonight, but I didn't feel like the crowd was as hot against the New Day as they have been in weeks prior. And in order for the crowd to remain that red hot against New Day, they have to do something heinous. They have to continue to do things that are going to make the crowd really angry. And I'm allowed to say that Jackie Redmond looked absolutely fantastic tonight, right? She knew she looked fantastic tonight, and she's Canadian, so kind of proud, kind of like, yep, there's that young Canadian lady, and I thought she looked absolutely fantastic. The interviews she does are usually really good, anyways. With her and Kathy Kelly, you've got two very good backstage interviewers in WWE. There's others as well, but I'll just mention those two. John Cena comes out next, cuts a promo, and basically says, "Hey, so Rumble anybody?" And I would not be surprised if he wins the Rumble. Wouldn't surprise me if he wins the title at Mania. Gets that record-setting 17th title win. Probably against Gunther. I don't think against Cody. I think Cody, they have other plans. But again, I haven't been looking at what the plans for Mania are because I kind of want to be surprised. We then had Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley. This starts at 6:30, meaning there was almost a full hour between the start of match 1 and match 2. Personally, as a wrestling fan, that's too much time. That's too much time. Dom gets involved early, and Raquel was at ringside. She's involved as well. And then an Oblivion onto a chair is a spot they did, and that only gets a 2 count, and that's where I went. So Rhea's winning this. Rhea does get the title back at 6:42, so that match lasted about 12 minutes. And then she gives the low blow and the riptide to Dominic. So that storyline may very well be done. With the move to Netflix, it does feel like now's a really good time to bring in new storylines. Then The Undertaker came out on his motorcycle, so he was Biker Taker. He does a lap around the ring and off he goes. So, all right. Thanks for coming out. Then they had a Miz Final Testament segment, which is fine. I don't know that Karrion Kross is ever going to get like a really loud reaction from the crowd. And it's weird because Karrion Kross is a good wrestler. He's got the right look. He's a strong guy. The Final Testament is an excellent looking group, but there's something that's it doesn't quite work as like a real threat. It doesn't feel as threatening as Judgment Day or the Bloodline. Maybe with Judgment Day breaking up soon, maybe the Final Testament gets into that spot, but I don't know if they're going to. Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre was next. It starts at 7:05, and Jey wins with a roll-up at 7:18. Jey finally gets his first win over Drew. I would expect Drew gets that win back in their next match, and then continues his attempt to overthrow the Bloodline and take out the Bloodline. So then they had New Day backstage, and Otis and Tozawa, Roman Reigns as well backstage, and the Tribal Chief, the whole thing with Paul Heyman. I still think Paul Heyman's going to turn heel. I cannot see Paul Heyman staying as a face character. It works fine short term, but long term, he's really better getting booed, being the bad guy. Jackie then interviews Rhea and Priest. So we do get, a little bit of hype for Priest going into a match next week against Finn Balor. It's going to be a street fight. They did announce some matches, so we'll see how next week goes. And then Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Hart came out. Everybody knows how I feel about Hulk Hogan, I think, who's watched my wrestling videos. I didn't like Hogan in the 80s. I really didn't like him in the 90s, and it really hasn't changed. I don't get, like, this sentimental, oh, isn't that great? Hogan's there. Feel for him? I don't. And so he comes out and he talks, and he's selling beer and nostalgia, as far as I can tell. He's never going to wrestle again. He's had hip replacement. He can't. So he's just there to sell beer and nostalgia because he's got real American beer. So, all right. And then we have Seth Rollins and CM Punk. This one starts at 7:43. They used each other's finishers on one another. Lots of near falls. And I was legitimately thinking, they could give Seth the win over Punk. They could give Punk the either way, you can play this really well for the storyline going forward. They're not done with each other. This is going to go to Mania. Punk wins with the go to sleep at 8:03. And it was 2 go to sleeps before he got it. It was his third of the match, and he needed to do 2 in a row. So both of them end up looking pretty strong. But it was notable to me personally that Seth worked as the heel. The way he was talking to the crowd and everything. I think Seth's doing a slow heel turn. And I do think we'll see Seth Rollins working with Drew McIntyre. I think that's where this is headed. And I think it's going to be brilliant once that slow turn has taken place. And maybe we end up with Seth, Drew, and Kevin Owens all working together as a group. And I don't know what you'd call that group, but yeah, that's a pretty strong faction if they do put that together. So overall, I would say it was a good show. We need more wrestling matches next week on Raw. We've had the introductory thing. That's great. I don't have a problem with the introductory side of it, but we need more matches. So let me know your thoughts if you watched it, how you felt about it. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for watching. I haven't had the time to watch wrestling lately. The hockey's been keeping me all busy and everything. But I will do my best. And when I watch it, I will review it as such. And you guys can let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.